I'm 31, male, work in logistics, drive a truck for a living. I've got a scar on my left forearm I stopped explaining years ago. 2 tours in Afghanistan, 5 years in the Army Infantry, and 3 months ago, I was supposed to get married. I want to tell you exactly what happened because I'm still processing it, and writing it out is the only thing that makes sense right now. My fiancée and I had been together for years. She was sharp, put together, came from a family where money wasn't a problem and appearances were basically a religion. Her mother once told me she admired my discipline, and I took it as a compliment. I should have caught what she actually meant, that she admired the version of me that stayed quiet, kept the army stuff tucked away, and didn't make anyone at the dinner table uncomfortable. I was acceptable to them as long as I was the cleaned-up, polished version. The real version had too many edges. The wedding was set for April. 240 guests, a venue that costs more per hour than I make in a week, her parents footing most of the bill. I had 5 guys on my side of the aisle. 5 men I'd served with for 5 years. Men who had carried me, literally and otherwise, through things I genuinely don't have words for. One lost his left hand to an IED outside Kandahar. Another has a burn scar covering the left side of his neck and jaw. A third walks with a cane now from a vehicle rollover. These weren't broken men. They were the most complete human beings I'd ever met. They just looked different than what my fiancée had envisioned for her photos. I found out what she thought of them through a text message. Not a conversation. A text. I was 40 miles from home, sitting in my truck on a job site eating a sandwich, when my phone buzzed. I read it, and then I read it again, and then I read it one more time. Hey, so I talked to my mom, and we both agree it's better if your military friends don't come to the wedding. Some of the guests aren't comfortable around people with visible injuries. I know that sounds harsh, but it's my day too, and I want everyone relaxed. I already texted them that there's been a venue capacity issue. Hope you understand. She had already texted them. She had already contacted my brothers, men who bled next to me in the dirt, and told them there wasn't room for them. She invented a fake excuse. She lied directly to their faces because she didn't want to say the real thing out loud. Their bodies make my guests uncomfortable. I sat in that truck for 11 minutes. I watched the clock. I wasn't stunned. I was choosing. Very carefully choosing what came next. One of those men, the one with the burned jaw, I held his head in my lap for 40 minutes waiting for a medevac after he got hit. I talked to him the whole time so he wouldn't lose consciousness. I told him about my dog, my hometown, what I was going to eat when I got home. Stupid small things. Because you keep someone tethered to life with whatever words you have. That's the man she lied to about a capacity issue. I typed back 2 words. Understood. Then I called my buddy, the one with one hand, and told him everything word for word. He went quiet for a second. She what? You heard me, I said. Another pause. What are you going to do? I'm going to handle it, I said. Don't say anything to the others yet. Here's what she expected. She expected me to feel guilty for a couple days, push back a little, and then fold because the deposits were paid, the dress was fitted, and 240 people had cleared their schedules. She expected what her mother expected, that I was disciplined, meaning I could be managed. What she forgot was that the Army spent 5 years teaching me to execute a plan under pressure without tipping my hand. I didn't blow up at her that night. I came home, ate dinner, listened to her talk about floral arrangements, and said very little. She took my quiet for acceptance. She smiled. She touched my arm. At one point she said, I knew you'd understand, you always do, and that almost cracked me. Almost. Over the next 4 days, I did 3 things quietly. First, I called the venue. There was a cancellation clause. Within 90 days of the event, we'd forfeit the deposit, which was her parents' money. I was fine with that. I canceled. Second, I called a family law attorney, not because we were married, but because I wanted to understand how to untangle shared finances cleanly. We had a joint savings account for the honeymoon fund. I withdrew my exact contribution down to the dollar and moved it back to my personal account. Completely legal, completely documented, and I have the bank records showing every dollar I'd put in. Third, and this is the part I'd been planning with real care, I booked a private event space. A bar and grill outside the city. Good food, solid draft beer, a back patio with string lights. I called all 5 of my guys and told them what had happened. There was silence on most of those calls. The kind of silence where you know someone is feeling something they won't say. "So, what's the plan?" Each of them asked in slightly different words. "We're throwing a party," I said. "For us. Same weekend the wedding was supposed to happen. Bring your families, wives, kids, whoever wants to come." I created a private Facebook event. I called it the Brotherhood Bash, an uninvited celebration. In the description, I wrote exactly what happened. No drama, just plain facts. My fiancée had uninvited these men because their injuries made her wedding guests uncomfortable. I had canceled the wedding. We were celebrating instead. Bring your appetite. Don't wear anything nice. I sent the invite to all 5 guys, their families, and about 60 of my own friends and family who had already RSVP'd yes to the wedding. I had not yet told my fiancée I'd canceled anything. She found out 10 days before the original wedding date when the venue coordinator called her cell to discuss the cancellation refund details. She called me 8 times in 20 minutes. I was driving. I let it go to voicemail, then pulled over and listened. First 3 voicemails, confused. Next 2, angry. The 6th one, her voice had gone cold and precise, which I recognized as her real register when something wasn't going her way. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to call me back right now. My mother is already calling the venue. This is insane. We are not canceling. Do you understand me? We are not canceling." I drove home. When I walked in, she was pacing. Her mother was already sitting at my kitchen table like she owned it, which honestly, she probably felt she did since she'd picked out half the furniture. My fiancé looked at me and said, "What did you do?" "I canceled the wedding," I said. "You can't do that unilaterally." "I just did." Her mother stood up with the posture of a woman who had never experienced consequences. "You are being extraordinarily selfish. Do you have any idea what has been invested in this?" "I know exactly what was invested," I said. "And I know exactly what was decided without my input." My fiancé switched tactics in under 4 seconds. Full tears. It was honestly impressive as a maneuver. I was trying to make our day beautiful. I made one decision that I thought. "You texted my brothers," I said. Quiet. Not loud. Men I served with. Men who got hurt. "You lied to them and told them there was a capacity issue. You didn't tell me. You didn't ask me. You decided they were too much for your wedding." "That is not what I said." "I have the text," I said. Word for word. She went quiet. Her mother did not. Her mother said I was being dramatic, blowing a practical decision out of proportion, that every bride deserved the wedding she envisioned, that if my friends had any class they'd understand. I looked at her mother and said, "One of those men spent 8 months learning to write with his remaining hand so he could still sign birthday cards for his kids. I'd appreciate it if you didn't tell me what class looks like." I went to the bedroom, packed a bag, and left. Within 24 hours, my fiancé filed a complaint with Facebook to have the event page taken down, claiming it was defamatory. Facebook reviewed it and left it up. Nothing I'd written was false. Her mother called my parents. My mother listened politely and then said my son doesn't need me to fight his battles, and I agree with everything he did. Then she hung up. My fiancé sent me a text threatening legal action, said her family was consulting an attorney about the deposits and emotional damages. I forwarded it to my attorney. He called me back almost amused. "She doesn't have a case," he said. "You were a party to that contract. Cancellation was within your legal right. The deposits are governed by the venue's terms. And pursuing emotional damages from a broken engagement without a marriage would require her to establish fault in court, which means that text message becomes evidence. She won't want that." "So I'm clear," I said. "You're clear," he said. Then she started working the mutual friends angle. She called people from the wedding guest list and told them I'd had some kind of breakdown, that the military stuff had finally caught up with me, that I was unstable. She was betting that enough people would believe her version before my event happened. The problem was that the people she called had already seen the Facebook event. Most of them had already RSVP'd yes to the bash. 2 days before the party, I got a text from her that was different from the others. Quieter. Can we just talk? Please. I miss you. I think we can fix this. I stared at it for a long time. I put my phone down and went to help set up the venue. The party was on a Saturday. The same Saturday we were supposed to get married. It started at 4 in the afternoon and didn't end until past midnight. 63 people showed up. Kids were running around the back patio. Someone brought a guitar. My buddy, the one with one hand, my first call, my closest brother, gave a toast that had grown men crying into their drinks. He talked about the day I'd sat with him in that field. He talked about what it means when someone chooses you at personal cost. I stood up after him and said, "She told you there wasn't room. I want you to know there will always be room at my table. That doesn't change." Someone started a food fight with bread rolls near midnight. The guy with the cane won. I'm not elaborating on how. I posted every photo. All of them. Facebook, Instagram, public. The big group shot on the patio, with everyone holding drinks. The kids on people's shoulders. The guitar. The toast. I captioned it simply, "The Brotherhood Bash. Best wedding I never had." By Sunday morning it had been shared over 400 times. She texted me at 11 a.m. I saw the photos. I didn't respond. 11:43. I should have handled it differently. Nothing. 2 p.m. I didn't think you'd actually go through with it. That one I read twice. Because that sentence confirmed everything. She hadn't thought I'd go through with it. Every move she'd made, the fake capacity excuse, the legal threats, the calls to mutual friends, the crying in the kitchen, all of it was built on the assumption that I'd eventually fold. That I was disciplined. That discipline meant I could be controlled. She'd spent 4 years watching me hold things together and decided it meant I'd absorb anything she handed me. She showed up at my buddy's place on a Tuesday evening. A mutual friend had mentioned where I was staying. I answered the door because I'm not the kind of person who hides. She looked genuinely tired. "I need you to understand that I wasn't trying to be cruel," she said. "I was stressed, and my mom had been in my ear, and I understand that," I said. She looked relieved. "But understanding it doesn't change what it was," I said. "You looked at men who gave pieces of themselves and decided they were a problem for your aesthetics. And when I responded, you threatened me legally, lied to mutual friends, and tried to get my event removed from the internet. That's not stress. That's who you are when you don't get what you want." She started crying. Real ones this time. I could tell the difference. "I love you." "I know," I said. "But the person you love is the version of me that stays quiet and adjusts." "I'm done adjusting." I closed the door. Her family's attorney sent a letter about the deposits a few weeks later. My attorney responded, "In the state we live in, broken engagements don't create actionable claims for deposit recovery without a specific prior written agreement," which we didn't have. The letter stopped. The photos are still up. They're staying up. One of my guys framed the group patio shot and hung it in his garage. I've got a copy on my fridge. We get together once a month now, rotating houses. Whoever's kid has a birthday that month gets a ridiculous amount of cake. Last week, the man with one hand sent me a video of his daughter's first piano lesson. He's been teaching her. That's what she called uncomfortable. I called it exactly what it is. If this hit you somewhere real, subscribe because, unlike my ex, we'll never show you